all you geeks out there. I'm the Nerd Girl.
And this is Bald Mongoose.
And welcome to Geek Channel. Today's podcast is going to be on the topic of Nerds United, geek shaming.
All right. The first topic we're going to talk about today is misogyny.
Misogyny amongst gaming is a really big problem. It shows up in video games, board games, even tabletopping. Everything down to the type of armor you wear, to the video game character designs and styles. So it's kind of gotten a lot of shit thrown at it lately. It's a huge thing. But what's worse is when misogyny leaves the games and it shows up in the people that are playing them.
Yeah, it's a really big drag when you're playing at a table and the females at the table are either considered to be somebody's girlfriend or a hanger-on rather than a gamer in their own right. And that's one of the things that really bugs the heck out of me, as I met my girlfriend playing Pathfinder. So I know that she's a gamer in her own right because she was there independently of me.
Most of you fans already know that I have a significant other and I've been gaming much longer than they have. And when I moved from my college town to move in with them, most of their friends thought I was the hanger-on and hadn't been gaming at all, when in reality, he'd been the one who'd been gaming a lot less and didn't have as much experience. And so it was a really interesting way to be introduced to the group and find out what people were really like, because, well, I was treated like the gamer girlfriend instead of a gamer, and that kind of just sucked.
Yeah, and you should be kind of pissed off about it. It's not right to treat somebody differently because of their gender.
Oh, yeah.
And one of my many thoughts in the whole subject is that the fake gamer girl, fake geek girl, that's all just, as we were talking about earlier, geek shaming. And what's wrong is it's making us geeks seem like we're more inclusive because we're not trying as hard to include women. We should try hard to include everybody, because right now all of geekdom is getting more and more mainstream. We've got more people playing video games now than ever. Something like 48% of gamers are female right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's ridiculous because we've got half of our population of geeks is female. So why would we go ahead and do anything that could possibly exclude them?
We make up half the human race. We're not going anywhere, so accept it and get over it. But one of the biggest issues that I've found is that even with all the press misogyny in geekdom in general has been getting lately, because of video games, board games, and so on, people still are willing to put up with that. Personally, I'm not. I had to give up in my younger gaming days some of my favorite hobbies because of the jerks that I had to deal with all day. And that just made it not fun for me and turned me into a person that I didn't like because I was constantly defending myself as a gamer. So to all of you girls out there, hold your head up high and be proud to be a nerd. And for all you guys out there, pull the stick out of your butt.
Yeah, for real, guys, don't be a dick.
And misogyny in this area doesn't just fall on how you guys have been treating female gamers. It's how you've been treating effeminate gamers. Because geeks in general draw a very unique and diverse crowd. And when you guys go all homophobic, transphobic, girlphobic, or whatever it is, that it's basically the same thing. You're being a prick. Cut it out.
Yep, there's a whole lot of gamers who are homosexual, bisexual, genderqueer,
pansexual, whatever.
Yeah. And one of their biggest outlets is gaming because it allows them to pretend to be somebody who's not being abused. Don't abuse them at the table or at the LARP or
at the convention.
Yeah, especially not at the convention, because I might meet you there and break your arm.
Oh yeah, I'll help. I have sticks. Okay, the next topic on this particular subject that we're going to get into that follows misogyny very well is elitism. Hey guys, we're all part of the same community. Don't be an elitist jerk. I mean, seriously, there's enough geekdoms out there for everybody to enjoy. And just because you think your geekdom is more awesome than somebody else's doesn't mean you have to exclude them or not try to get them involved because that's part of the joy of being a geek, is finding all these cool and fun and interesting things and sharing them with each other. That's how our community got started. So yeah, let's dig into elitism here and really knock some heads.
Yeah, if it weren't for friends of mine introducing me to new games, new comics, new movies, new TV shows, things along those lines, I would have a heck of a lot less of a geeky life. And that's one of the things we need to try our best to do, is to be inclusive. Don't like say, oh well, I'm so into Doctor Who, I'm gonna hate all over you because you enjoy Star Trek or something along those lines.
Which
Like
is
you like
really
the wrong
bad.
kind of sci-fi.
Oh my god! You like real sci-fi and not science drama or science fantasy. What the heck ever? I mean, I love it all. I remember when I was younger, one of the big things that I got picked on for is I like both Star Wars and Star Trek. You heard me. I like both, and I'm not ashamed.
You should like both. They're both quality entertainment.
Exactly, but I'm also a huge Doctor Who fan. Like, one of my favorite colors is TARDIS blue. Hell, my tower computer is called the TARDIS. It has TARDIS lights on it. I love all of these different things, and yet, for some reason, we still have people who are willing to be elitist jerk-offs because they think they're all that in a bag of chips. And it's not just about the television shows we watch or the books we read. It also comes down to the games that we play and the tabletop we're into. One of the things that I despise the most are those gamers who, like, if you can't do algebra, I'm not gaming with you, because the games I play require you to be able to do mid to high level algebra just to calculate your attacks. Not that I can't, but at the same time, that's not a cool attitude to have. It's not an okay thing to do to people.
Yeah, I love crunchy game systems on one hand, and on the other hand, I love fast, simple stuff like Savage Worlds, for instance.
Or superheroes. We had a lot of fun with that one.
Yep, and that was pretty simple. I mean, however, yeah, just because you're good at something and you like to show off that you're good, you can totally show off and brag, and that's cool with me. Don't show off and brag and be exclusive or talk down to other people while you're doing so.
Paper dicking is not okay.
Yeah, it's really funny that you're gonna choose something as geeky first of all, like, gamers, tabletop gamers are already an exclusive group, and you're going to be even more exclusionary. That's just nuts to me.
Oh yeah, let me tell you, we have so many people flocking to our door wanting to game, though admittedly we do. That's actually true. But that's also because tabletop gaming has become a more inclusive system, and the more inclusive the new systems become, the more elitist a lot of old school tabletoppers become, because it means that more normal people, quote unquote, or the normies, or the muggles, or whatever you're going to call them, can now play too. But that's a good thing. That cuts down on bullying, on hazing, on hating. That's a good thing.
Personally, I like being able to go to Barnes & Noble and pick up a 5th edition D&D book. It's great for me. I love that more people are getting involved.
Oh yeah, Pathfinder. Heck, I love that I could go to Barnes & Noble and pick up the new Star Wars RPG. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was great. And because we're including so many more people in our geekdoms, and so many people are willing to try fun new things, we're going to see a lot more mainstream stuff. So do not be exclusionary. Do not be elitist. Help your friends get into the same weird stuff as you, and go ahead and take a break from your super crunchy games.
Or whatever it is that is your normal routine, and stretch those geek legs.
Yeah, say yes to more geeky stuff. I mean, if it's not going to hurt you, give it a shot.
Which, speaking of giving things a shot, our next thing comes into gamer cliques, and we all know they exist. Just like in high school and almost every other facet of life, there are going to be cliques within any subculture. There are the LARPers, the tabletoppers, the console gamers, the PC gamers, so on and so forth. But as nerddom has evolved into a mainstream thing, more and more people have found that they do a lot more crossover stuff than they originally thought, because the community is just more accessible. And yet, we still have people doing the gamer cliques who refuse to acknowledge or even accept that the other groups might be just as fun, if not more so, because they're not being, again, elitist ass.
Yep, and it's totally true. If you'd asked me 7 or 8 years ago if I would ever try LARPing, my answer would have been no. And then I was at a, yeah.
Oh yeah, and let me tell you, he's a huge LARPer now. Like, he'll go and beat somebody with a foam sword. He'll even go salon LARPing. It's hysterical.
Yeah, my first LARP was a salon LARP, and I was at a nerd convention when I saw a bunch of good-looking girls, very well dressed, hanging out talking to people with a sign in front of the room they were in saying something about Vampire the Requiem. So I said, "Oh, what the hell? I'll give it a shot." I mean, it's got a bunch of pretty girls, and I like role playing anyway. You know, this will give me an excuse to meet some new people, and I've been doing it ever since. Since then I moved on from parlor LARPs to bar for LARPs, and I've even played in a Nordic LARP. So I'm willing to give anything a shot as long as it won't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, I've been LARPing in general since I was about 15 years old. It started with salon LARPing, again, because I was at a convention and I had several friends who were already playing in them, and I decided to dive in head first. And it was a lot of fun, though I don't like the national campaigns as much because of the politics behind it. But to be honest, I did give it a try, and that's how I know I don't enjoy them as much. But that's more of out-of-play politics than the actual gameplay itself. But that's the big thing. You gotta try it before you say you don't like it. And I moved from salon LARPing to the SCA, which is the Society for Creative Anachronisms. And that is hardcore historical reenactment LARPing. They use live steel, they use real armor, and it's a lot of fun, but it can also be really painful if you mess up. And from there I went to boffer LARPing and stuff, and pretty much I'm an all-over gamer geek nerd, as you all know from my name, the Nerd Girl. If it's a geek genre, I'm gonna try it at least once.
Actually, Nerds and I met at a parlor LARP. We were playing Vampire when we met for the first time.
Oh yeah, I met Goose, and he was playing this very, very grouchy game girl.
Oh no, that was my Bruja.
Oh no, your Bruja. Your Bruja was very, very grouchy. And I was playing a very crazy character, a Malkavian. I showed up with green hair, and wearing a lot of leather.
That's completely true.
Yup. And if you're nice, I might show you that costume one day. But, you guys gotta remember that, yes, there are going to be cliques, and unfortunately high school sort of set that up for us. There's always going to be, no matter where you go, the popular kids, the office jocks, whatever. But that doesn't mean that as a group, we can't overcome that. We are a subculture that has gone mainstream. That is not only super rare, but normally it would have phased out by now, and it hasn't. We're still going strong, thanks to the internet and YouTube and all sorts of other stuff. We are able to reach out and do more and help each other more than we have ever been able to do in the past. So embrace it and try new things. Our next thing is fandom hating. Okay, this goes back to what we have said before about don't geek shame and stuff like that, but this is one of the bigger issues. Fandom hating is where trolling and depression and all this negative stuff that is associated with geeks really comes from. Because our own insecurities come through when we fandom hate on somebody else. And it's a really big problem. It's not a cool thing. You might not like what they enjoy, but that doesn't mean you have to be the bully. Because that's what you are. You're being a bully.
It's okay to hate ideas. And there's plenty of bad ideas out there. There's plenty of inspiration for fandoms that I kind of detest. But that being said, hate the idea. Do not hate the person. Unless they've done something to wrong you, don't judge them based on their thoughts, but judge them on what they do. And I'm not talking like don't judge them because they dress like a pony. Judge them when they're dressed like a pony and they're an asshole who is being misogynistic or excluding people from enjoying the same kind of ponies they enjoy.
Yeah, or being creepy, or like getting in your face, like somebody getting in your face about their fandom when you've told them it's not your thing. That's different.
Yes.
You being irritated at them for that is reasonable, but hating on something because you either don't know enough about it or it's not your thing, and then taking that dislike for that thing and putting it on a person and lumping them all into one big group, even though you really shouldn't, because that's what people have been doing to us for years, is not cool. Because that turns you in from a reasonable, understanding person to the bully. Because you're either too scared to figure out what it's all about, or you're too immature to say, hey, not my thing, can you not throw it in my face?
Yep, and that's the kind of thing we need to fight against. We've been talking the whole time about inclusion. Include everybody, or try to include everybody. If people aren't interested in your fandom, then you should...
respect it.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard to tell because a lot of geeks are very introverted, and they're not going to flat out tell you that I am not interested in that particular kind of space elf. And they will... So try to not be completely clueless as to whether or not somebody's interested in what you're discussing with them. If they seem to be zoning out, perhaps it's time to try to change the topic of conversation.
Try to be inclusive in how you talk to people. Learn about their fandom as much as you want to share yours. You know?
Yeah.
It's a back and forth. It's a give and take. Goose and I have learned that over a really good, healthy friendship that it's all about the give and take.
Exactly. There's things that Nerds is into that I'm not, and there's plenty of stuff I'm into that Nerds isn't.
Yeah, I can't do first-person shooters because they make me dizzy, and Goose is...
I'm very, very picky about what kind of anime I watch.
Oh yeah, Goose is not into the same anime, but oddly enough, one of the animes that I was really into because it was very progressive, about several topics that are really hard to deal with, especially in American audiences, became one of the top 10 animes in the United States in the early 2000s, and it dealt with homosexuality, gay couples adopting children, and all sorts of really big topics in a really fun and interesting way, and I got Goose to like it.
Yeah, I actually do enjoy it. New Demon King Forever.
Yeah. Or Karamari Mao.
Yeah, and that's really good. And one of my other favorites is Ouran High School Host Club.
Which is absolutely hysterical. It's one of my favorites, too. And if you ever... When you guys see Goose in the videos, you know he doesn't look like the typical Ouran fan. But that's one of the big things you have to understand is you never know who's into what.
Exactly. And if I hadn't been introduced to Ouran, there is no way I would have watched it on my own.
Oh, no. No, because the way it's advertised is such a girl anime.
Yeah.
And it's really not.
Total reverse harem, all that sort of thing. However, when you go ahead and watch it, it's hysterical, and it pokes fun at so many different anime tropes.
Oh, yeah, and it's so pervy, too. It really is. It really is. It's got a guy's sense of humor and more of a male point of view to the reverse harem kind of thing. It's not all about the girl.
Exactly, and you can hate Ouran, but please don't hate on me too hard for liking it. See, that's the kind of thing we're trying to avoid with fandom haters.
Okay, and going back to that topic, the next topic is respecting boundaries. Just like you shouldn't hate on somebody for the things they enjoy, on the other side of the coin, guys, don't shove your fandoms down somebody's throat. Be respectful of other people's boundaries, and it's not just about the fandom thing, but that's one of the big reasons why it's on this list, is you gotta be respectful of each other's boundaries.
Exactly, and this goes beyond more than just trying to shove your fandom down somebody's throat. It also has to do with showing respect for people as people and giving people their space when they need it. A lot of us geeks are con goers and the like, and while we're at cons, we're going to see people dressed as our favorite characters, and we're going to want to go up and introduce ourselves to them. Make sure you do so in a polite manner, remembering that there is somebody underneath that makeup in that costume.
Yeah, like I used to do cosplaying and stuff like that, as many of my fans have discovered, because you pointed out that you found some of my old cosplay and modeling stuff that I did for nerd stuff, which I don't mind. I'm not ashamed of it. But when I was doing more of that, I would always appreciate the people who treated me like a person rather than just a dress-up doll or something that they could grope, which happened a lot. which is not okay. That's actually a felony.
It is, yeah.
It's called sexual harassment, guys.
Sexual assault if they actually touch you.
Yeah, you guys can. There's an easy line to cross into sexual harassment onto assault when you're dealing with the cosplayers and stuff. And they put a lot of work into those costumes. They put it's not just go buy it on. I mean, yeah, there are some people who just buy it on the internet, but most cosplayers spend months and months on their costumes trying to get them done and make sure they're perfect for whatever con they're going to. And to be and to disrespect them like that and treat them like they're not a person isn't okay.
Exactly. If you want to touch somebody, ask first. And if they say no, guess what? Be a grown up and live with it.
Yeah. And if the cosplayers are doing a bit, appreciate it. Take photos, but don't try to interrupt them when they're doing a bit and stuff like that. Like, AWA, there was somebody who was walking around, oh, what are those things called? They carry the lantern, have the little dagger, the little lizard men.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I can't place the name either.
They're one of the most feared characters in one of the most feared NPCs in all of Final Fantasy because they can just walk up to you, stab you, and you die. Whenever you're in the cave systems. And that's what they were doing. They were walking around to different Final Fantasy characters, asking their permission if they wanted to do a bit, and when they agreed, they would just walk up to them, poke them with their little boffer knife, and then they would play the battle music and fall over and pretend to be dead. It was hysterical. People loved taking pictures of it. It was a great thing, and everybody was respectful about it.
The important thing to remember here is they got consent first.
Oh, yeah. And that was why I was bringing it up, because it was one of those, it was a great cosplay bit that they got permission from each individual cosplayer to do. It wasn't something that they just ran up and started hitting people or anything like that. So there are lots of different boundaries you have to respect as a geek if you want people to respect you.
Yep, and I understand that some of us out there are going to be socially awkward, and sometimes we're not going to understand social cues as well as people who are not traditionally associated with being geeks. And that's just something you've got to learn through practice, if it's possible.
Yep, or go around with a buddy.
Yeah, that's true.
Make sure the friends you're with are really friends and going to keep you from doing something stupid.
Yep, because you don't want to make situations that are already probably feeling awkward for you any more awkward.
Yeah. So that's always a big thing, and we are actually going to have an entire podcast about better ways to experience cons and stuff like that, tips and tricks that we've learned over the years from going to our own conventions that we're going to share with you in a later podcast. So don't think we're just going to leave you hanging with slim little advice and not really try to help you, because that's part of what this channel is about, is helping the community stay united, because we're all nerds, we're all geeks, and we all have our weird things that we're into, and it's nice to know that there are people out there who share those fandoms and those nerdy things too. It's one of the reasons we do this.
Exactly. We get to meet new people, and we get to discuss topics which we feel are important.
Leading on to our next topic, be mindful of each other. We're all a community. You have your friends that you trust. When you go to conventions, don't go alone. Take a friend. Always try to be with people that you can depend on to help you in a tough situation. I learned as a female gamer that going to any convention alone was not a good idea. Mostly because I felt isolated. When I was younger, I was a lot more socially awkward. I was really quiet when it came to being in big groups and stuff like that. But once I got to know you, I became much more social and open. But it's one of those things that I had to be comfortable with the people around me. And at conventions, it is really hard to get to know each other in a short amount of time, especially when people are trying their hardest to get through their own social anxieties, but at the same time you are. So you gotta pay attention. You gotta watch. Otherwise you're gonna end up in awkward situations that might end up with you arrested.
Yep. Please just, like we said, be mindful of each other. Take everything into consideration. Take the amount of people around you. Take what they're doing into consideration. And as always, try to do good. If you have the opportunity to do good, if you see someone who looks lost or confused, approach them. in such a manner they can see you coming, and ask them if they need some kind of help. Don't automatically start offering it, but ask if they need a hand. And even if they don't, they'll probably still appreciate the fact that someone came up and did that. Because at things like conventions, which can be very scary for people who are new to them, or even old hats if they're in a completely new one.
Oh, yeah.
It's really important to try to keep in mind that everybody else there isn't necessarily feeling the same way you are. They're not necessarily having the same experience that you are. Some folks might be having a great time. Other folks might be dazed and confused by everything going on around them.
And some people might just be panicked at how many other people there are around them because they've gone to smaller conventions up to that point. And some just might be running around like crazed monkeys at all the shiny things.
Yeah, exactly. At the last Dragon Con I went to, I had to duck out several times because there were just too many people there for me.
Oh, yeah. I actually had learned a while ago that I had to step back from some of the bigger conventions just because if I wasn't with friends, I would constantly get berated and harassed by several different people because... I mean, it was never the same person twice most of the time because, as I said, I was a cosplayer and a geek model. So I modeled a lot of costuming and stuff and got recognized for it in my youth. And it turned into a huge mess for me.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. If people had been more mindful, as we're saying, of your feelings, nerds, then I feel like things would have gone better for you at that time.
Probably. And it means that I would be more comfortable at conventions now.
Yeah, exactly.
So... on closing notes, we just want to remind you, we're all friends. We're all nerds. There's always going to be... everybody says there's 6 degrees of separation in most communities. For nerds, there's more like 3. In any given city, you will have some connection to one of the other nerds in that city in some shape or form. You just got to look for it, and you got to be aware of it. So just try to be more open, try to be more mindful, try to be more inclusive, and remember, we are all in this together. Nerds United.
Nerds United.
This is the Nerds Girl.
And this is Bald Possum.
Yeah, we all know Mongoose.
Battletoad. Naked Mole Rat.
He's gonna keep making up names until you guys laugh. But regardless, this is everybody from Geek Channel saying we love you and we hope that you're doing great out there. And we'll see you in the next video or hear from you on the next podcast. Bye!
Bye!